Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. I'd love it if you could leave a comment letting me know where you're listening from around the world. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this video. Story 1. They say the forest doesn't care who you are. It just waits. Quiet. Watching. I wasn't looking for trouble when I hiked out to the Greywater River. In fact, I was trying to get away from it. I'd gone through a breakup, lost my job in the same week, and my apartment lease was up in 2 months. Life was closing in on me, and I needed a place to breathe, to clear my head without the buzz of phones and people and noise. So I packed a tent, a journal, some canned food, and drove north, deeper into Washington than I'd ever gone. Greywater was supposed to be peaceful. The locals in the last town before the trailhead gave me some strange looks when I asked for directions. A woman behind the gas station counter, gray hair, tired eyes, paused when I mentioned Greywater. She said, "People don't camp there no more. Not since, well, it don't matter." Then she just rang up my snacks and waved me off. I should have asked more questions. It was late October. The air was dry, and the leaves were already falling like paper ash. I reached the river just before sunset and found a soft patch of ground a few yards from the water. The forest around me was thick but beautiful, all pine and fog. I pitched my tent, built a small fire, and ate beans out of a can. It was quiet, so quiet it made my ears ring. But after a while, the silence became comforting. I scribbled some thoughts into my journal, zipped myself into the tent, and drifted off listening to the gentle rush of the river. The sound that woke me up was different. Crunch, crunch, footsteps, slow, deliberate, not twigs snapping. Just the soft crush of leaves underfoot, coming from the direction of the riverbank. At first, I told myself it was an animal, maybe a deer or even a bear, but something in the rhythm made my stomach twist. Animals don't walk like that. They're erratic, fast, uncertain. This sounded like someone taking a walk. I unzipped the tent, just a sliver, and peeked out. That's when I saw him. He was maybe 30 feet away, walking along the edge of the river. Not fast, not slow, just steady. In one hand, he held an old lantern, the kind with the metal frame and glass sides, the light inside flickering like a dying candle. His clothes didn't belong. A long, tattered coat that swayed as he walked. Mud-stained boots, a brimmed hat that cast a shadow over his eyes. But I could still see part of his face in the lantern glow. Pale, sunken cheeks, dry cracked lips, and eyes that were empty. Not blind, not glowing, just empty, like someone had scooped the life out and left hollow holes behind. I froze. He didn't look at me. Not first. He just walked until he was almost past the tent. That's when he stopped and turned. His head moved slow, mechanical, like it took effort. His face pointed straight at me, like he knew exactly where I was, even though I hadn't made a sound. I ducked inside, heart punching in my ribs. I wanted to believe it was a trick of the light, a shadow, something explainable. But I didn't move again. Not for hours. I sat upright in that tent, clutching my little camping knife like it would protect me. I don't remember falling asleep. When the sun came up, the world looked normal again. Birds chirped. The river glittered. My fire had long gone cold, but the footprints were real. Wet footprints, human, bare, leading up from the river to my tent, and then stopping, not turning around, not walking away, just stopping at the flap like he'd stood there, watching. I packed everything in under 15 minutes. My hands shook as I folded the tent. I barely zipped my pack. I just wanted to be gone. The trail back felt longer, and I checked over my shoulder at every sound. About a mile in, I stopped to catch my breath. That's when I saw something hanging from a branch, right at eye level. A note, old paper, yellowed and curling at the edges, tied with a brittle piece of string. I don't know how I saw it. It was half hidden by a clump of moss. I pulled it down and unfolded it. There were only 8 words written in jagged handwriting. Next time, bring a lantern. The dark won't protect you. I didn't camp again after that. Not once. I sleep with the lights on now. And sometimes, when it's very quiet, I hear leaves crunching, closer than they should be. Story 2. Back in 2018, I took my sister Maya on a weekend camping trip in the woods near Mount Shasta. She was 15 at the time, sharp, bold, a little reckless, and endlessly fascinated by the stars. Her room at home looked like a tiny observatory, glow-in-the-dark constellations on the ceiling, books about black holes and nebulae on every shelf. She was also deep into horror, loved creepy stories, spooky legends. The more twisted, the better. It made her feel brave, I guess, and it made her annoying to camp with. But she was my kid sister. I was 22 then, back from college, and I thought a weekend away from the noise might be good for both of us. Somewhere quiet, just trees and sky, no cell signal, no distractions. We drove up early Saturday morning, hiked a few miles in, and set up camp by a small clearing in the woods. No other tents, no human noise, just the endless hiss of wind through pines and the occasional crack of a squirrel leaping from branch to branch. By nightfall, the forest turned black as spilled ink. The stars, though, God, the stars were unreal. Bright, scattered across the sky like crushed diamonds. Maya was in awe. We sat by the fire, made marshmallows, laughed about some dumb horror movie she'd seen where the monster had a goat head and a clown laugh. It felt good. Simple. Then she said she had to pee and disappeared into the trees with a flashlight. I didn't think anything of it. Maybe 10 minutes passed. Then 15. I called out, "Maya, you good?" No answer. Another minute. Still nothing. That's when I heard her voice. "I'm here." It was close, but not too close. Maybe 20 feet off to the left, behind a thick tangle of trees. But something was off. Her voice was wrong. Not the words, just the tone. She sounded like she was acting. You know that weird forced casualness people have when they're pretending everything's normal, even when it's not. That's what I heard. I grabbed my flashlight and aimed it toward the sound. She was there, standing just past the tree line, facing me, but she wasn't moving. Her arms hung stiff at her sides, and she wasn't even blinking, just staring. "Maya," I said. She replied, instantly, "I'm here." Same tone, same words, exactly the same. My stomach dropped. I took a step closer, shining the light directly on her. And I swear to you, her face was blank. Not expressionless, blank. Like someone had painted over the details. It looked like Maya, but dulled. "Maya, stop messing around." My voice cracked. "I'm here." Exactly the same again. I stood there, frozen, flashlight trembling in my hand. My breath caught in my throat. The woods around us had gone completely still. No wind, no rustling, just silence and this thing that looked like my sister, standing stock still and parroting the same two words like a broken record. Then I heard rustling behind me. I spun around, and Maya, the real Maya, was walking back toward the camp, flashlight swinging in her hand, half zipping up her hoodie. "What are you doing over there?" she asked, eyebrows furrowed. I didn't answer. I turned back toward the thing in the woods. But it was gone. No movement, no sound, nothing but dark trees and my own heart hammering in my chest. I ran back to Maya, grabbed her arm, and dragged her back to the fire. She thought I was messing with her, said I'd probably spook myself telling ghost stories. But I knew what I saw. Before we packed up and left, yes, we left that night, I walked back over where I'd seen the thing. No footprints, no broken branches, not even the imprint of where someone might have stood. I didn't sleep that night. Maya did. Barely. She doesn't talk about the woods anymore. Doesn't look at the stars the same way, either. She used to gaze up for hours. Now, if she's outside after dark, she keeps her eyes down. I don't blame her, because sometimes, when I'm alone in the middle of the night, I still hear her voice in my head. I'm here. That same tone, that same rhythm, that same wrongness. And I wonder, what would have happened if I had answered it? Story 3. Last summer, I joined a weekend hiking group in Colorado. I needed it. Something to distract me from the city, from the noise, from the nagging loneliness that had grown louder than the traffic outside my apartment. The group was a mix of strangers, 6 of us in total, friendly enough. We shared snacks, took turns leading, and laughed a little too hard at the kind of jokes only make sense when you're running on granola bars and trail mix. The mountains were beautiful, no doubt. Green walls of pine, jagged rocks that pierced the sky, streams so cold they stung your skin. But there was something about the valley we camped in on the second night. It was wide, quiet, almost too quiet, and the pines that ringed it stood like sentinels, tall, black silhouettes that didn't move even when the wind passed through. It was the odd one out. Quiet, reserved. He had that kind of face you forget 5 minutes after seeing it. Pale skin, thinning hair, eyes that always seemed to be staring at something behind you. He wasn't rude or anything, just distant. He brought his own tent, a small, faded green thing he pitched about 30 feet from the rest of us. Said he liked the space. No one questioned it. The fire was crackling low that night. The stars overhead were sharp and cold. We told a few stories, mostly lame ghost tales someone had pulled from Reddit. And one by one, everyone turned in. I remember Neil was already zipped up in his tent. No light inside. No sound. Like he'd vanished into it. I crawled into my sleeping bag and listened to the forest. The distant chirping of bugs. The occasional rustle of branches. Then nothing. A kind of deep silence that presses into your chest if you lie awake too long. I remember thinking the woods felt wrong somehow, like the trees were listening. At some point in the night, I woke up to someone screaming. It wasn't a panicked, blood-curdling scream, but more like someone urgently calling out a name. Neil, Neil, wake up, man. It was Jesse, another guy from our group. His voice cracked as he called out again. Something's wrong with Neil's tent. He's not answering. We all scrambled out of our tents, stumbling over rocks and roots, flashlights bobbing in every direction. I followed the others toward the edge of the clearing, to where Neil had pitched his tent. I remember thinking how small it looked in the moonlight, like a green blister in the grass. It was zipped shut. Jesse was already at the flap, slapping it, calling Neil's name. No answer, no movement. Is he messing with us? Someone whispered. I don't think so, Jesse replied, eyes wide. Finally, someone pulled the zipper down, slow and careful like they were opening a coffin. The tent was empty. No Neil, just his boots, placed neatly side by side. His flashlight, still off, rested gently beside his pillow, and his wristwatch, unworn, ticked away quietly on top of the sleeping bag like it had no idea something was wrong. It felt wrong. All of it. No one said anything for a long time. We stood there with our flashlights pointed at the inside of that little green tent, half expecting him to suddenly pop out and laugh. But he didn't. We searched all night. The forest swallowed our voices. We yelled until our throats burned. We checked the nearby river, the hills, the thick bramble bushes that tore at our arms like claws. Nothing, not even an echo. When the sun rose, we found the footprints. One set led from the woods to Neil's tent. Deep, firm impressions like someone had walked with purpose. They stopped at the tent door, and then another set, but not walking. Dragged. You could see the long streaks in the grass, as if someone had been pulled by the ankles. These tracks slithered away into the trees, and then vanished where the dew stopped. The rangers arrived after we hiked down and called them. They asked the usual questions, took notes. They searched for days, brought dogs, drones, even divers for the nearby lake. Nothing. No sign of Neil. It made the news. For a day. Maybe two. Then the world forgot. But I didn't. 2 weeks later, I got a message. It came around 3:07 a.m. My phone buzzed once and lit up the dark bedroom. I almost ignored it, assuming it was some group chat blowing up. But something made me look. It was an unknown number. No name. Just a single image attached. My heart started pounding the moment I saw it. It was a photo of Neil's tent, pitched in a foggy forest I didn't recognize. Everything in the image looked wet, cold, and lifeless. The trees were wrong, crooked, gray things like skeletal fingers. There was no sign of anyone else, just the tent, and below the image, a caption. He sleeps better now. So quiet. I didn't sleep that night, or the one after. I kept thinking about the dragging footprints, the silence in the forest, the way Neil always seemed like he didn't belong with us. I wonder now if he ever did. Sometimes, I hear scratching at my window around 3 a.m. Just faint, like someone running their nails slowly along the glass. When I get up to look, there's no one there. But once I found something on my porch. A dirty, old-fashioned wristwatch. It was ticking, and it had a name etched on the back. Neil. I moved to a new place. Got rid of the phone. Tried to forget. But sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night, and I swear I can hear someone unzipping a tent just outside my bedroom wall. And the silence after, it's so quiet, too quiet.